Well, good morning, Trucker Todd here, and time for another video. I took a couple of weeks off of doing a video, and to be honest, this is not one that I'm real excited about doing. For several months now, probably 7 or 8 months, things have been going really great at Dart Transit, but at last we're starting to have problems, and I've been working behind the scenes trying to solve these problems and haven't had any luck at this point. There's about 4 things that are really bothering me right now. I'm going to share those things with you in this video. And obviously, if these things are corrected in the next few days or whatever, then I'll share that news with you as well, either in the comments below this video or in a future video, depending on what it is and how much explanation is needed. But as we go into this video, I want you to think about something. The 4 things I'm going to tell you, if they were individual things by themselves, probably wouldn't be that big of a deal. But when you combine the 4 together, it's really concerning. And there's going to be some really big announcements in this video, both to this channel, things that are going to happen to this channel as a result of those changes, or I mean of those things that are going on, and things that are going to happen to me personally and my relationship with Dart Transit. So, without any further ado, let's jump right into today's video. Here we go.
And this is why I do this, why I'm out here, why I keep that hammer down, flying by these road signs with home on my mind, with these wheels turning round, for my family and for my kids, for this life I wanna live. And this is why I do this.
Okay, this is the part in the video where I normally tell you about the stuff in the description. There's going to be some noticeable changes in this video. For starters, I'm no longer recommending Dart Transit. Now, like I said, that may change if some of these problems get resolved in the next few days. But I can't, in good faith, even though I'm having a lot of success there right now, I can't recommend them with these problems looming overhead. So, my driver number is still there, though. If your heart is set on Dart and you're ready to go there based on the previous videos, then please, 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 give them my driver number and then shoot me an email and let me know that you applied. You'll see why as we jump further into this video. Also, my Instagram and Facebook are there. Feel free to join me there. We put content there that doesn't always make it to the YouTube channel, so you'll want to be a part of that as well. Also, make sure that you give me a thumbs up and share this video on your social media platforms, especially this one. And when you subscribe, wait a few seconds, click that bell, and then select all so that you receive a notification when a new video comes out. You'll be glad you did, and I'll appreciate it, and it does help the channel. All right, I don't want to waste any more time. We've got a lot to get to. I'm going to try to make this as short as possible. And as I said, as we go through the video, I'll let you know how it's going to affect different things in my life and with the channel and so forth. You've already seen one of the changes. I'm no longer recommending them. But as I said, my driver number is there. If you guys want to put me as a referral, or if some of you want to snitch on me, that's okay too. All right, first thing, and this is kind of a deal that if you're not a driver, and even if you're not a real experienced driver, this probably wouldn't bother you. But on 2 or 3 occasions now, I've been driving. I'm nearing the end of my day. The most recent one, I was pulling into a Love's truck stop with 15 minutes left on my log. I'd planned all day to park there. There was tons of parking there, and I get a message on my Qualcomm or OmniTrax, whatever it is. You're about to run out of logbook time. You need to find a place to park now. Well, I'm an experienced driver, 25 years. I don't need the micromanagement. That kind of thing just boils my blood. And like I said, that's happened 3 or 4 times. And it's uncalled for. I could understand if I was a guy that had logbook violation after logbook violation, and maybe there was some justification for micromanaging me. But or I could understand if maybe there was some kind of reason for it. But they're able to track me. They know right where I'm at, and they should be able to see that I'm pulling into a Love's Travel Center and make the assumption that, hey, he's getting ready to call it a day, and probably shouldn't say anything. But that's just the first thing. As I said in the beginning of the video, this thing alone probably wouldn't be enough to cause them to go from, oh, I didn't even mention that. So here's the deal. When I worked for DART before, you remember originally I started for them in 2008. They had, at one point, between 2008 and 2014, they got up to almost 3,000 trucks. And now, the last report I saw, they were around 1,100. So you got to wonder why a company in just a few short years is a third of the size that they were just a few short years ago. Roughly, I realize it's not exact, but you get the feeling or the point I'm trying to make. So I would say part of it is this micromanagement. And that example I gave you of where I'm pulling into a truck stop and they're sending me messages for something nitpicky, I'm still legal. I mean, I'm getting ready to park, so I don't get it. So let's move on to the next thing. So the next thing is they, I give you guys my driver number in this video, and I say if you guys are interested in working at DART Transit, to put my driver number, and I receive a referral bonus on there. Same referral bonus that you guys get if you come to work here and refer somebody. I don't receive any money from YouTube, so and I don't do this specifically for the money. It's kind of fun to make these videos. But I had a guy that I started talking to him in January with a recruiter. That recruiter, I found out recently, no longer works for DART. And so I contacted her boss, who also knew that I'd been working with this guy in January. Well, I emailed him. I got an email back. He's no longer with the company. So he said contact this other guy, which was his boss. So I contacted him. Now, this is the third person I've contacted. I started on, it was either Friday or Monday. I sent him an email. Didn't hear nothing. Figured it was because of the holiday, Memorial Day. So I tried to call him today. I left him a voicemail. He didn't call me back. So I've got to assume at this point that they're not going to pay me for that recruit, which is, I guess that's the way it is. But to not call me back, to not give me an answer via email or a phone call or something, shows a real lack of respect, in my opinion. Now, it's possible this guy's out of the office. It's possible he was real busy, didn't get a time to call me back. And as I said, if I'm wrong about this, then I'll correct it in a future video, or I'll put something in the comments below saying I was wrong. But you got to figure, this guy went to orientation, he said around the 10th of this month. So that's over 2 weeks ago. And we get paid after every trip. I don't know how many trips I've done since then. I could look it up. I would think 3 or 4. So they've had 3 or 4 opportunities to pay me this money, and they hadn't paid it yet. And you guys know how I feel about payroll issues, and if I've got a pet peeve, that's definitely what it is. But we're not just talking about nickels and dimes here. I get $1,000 when they pull their first load, and then after they're here 90 days, I'm supposed to get another $1,000. And for this particular individual, I've got zilch. And so that's the second thing that's kind of irritating me. All right, now let's move into another one. The next thing, a couple of weeks ago, I guess it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, I got a call from safety. And this is another micromanaging thing. And the guy says, Todd said, in Oklahoma, where 44 and 35 split off, we caught you speeding in the construction. I said, I don't think so. Yep, we got it right here on your dash cam. I said, I'd like to see that. I said, I may speed 5 over in some places or something, but I said, I'm big on not speeding in construction. I said, he said, well, I wouldn't lie to you. I said, I'm not accusing you of lying. I said, but I'm just saying I can't defend myself on an event I don't remember. So this is funny. You know how on the news, when you see a UFO, UFOs are in the news right now, and it's a real grainy picture from far away, or, they show Bigfoot walking through the forest, and it's a real grainy picture, and you can't tell what it is. Well, that's what this guy did. At first, he told me he couldn't send me the video, and then he said, all right, fine, I'll send it to you. And he took his cell phone and tried to record the screen of his laptop. And it was horrible. You could barely see it. But what I did then is I took it and I slowed it down and I looked at it real close. And I called him back. I said, no, sir. I said, I was not speeding in construction, because it shows your speed right there on the screen. I said, speed limit was 60. By your own camera, it says I was doing 59. And I said, then at the spot where you said I was speeding, the speed limit drops to 45. And my deal says I'm doing 47. He says, ha, I got you 2 miles an hour over. If DOT saw that, they'd get you. I said, no, sir, they wouldn't. Because by Kenworth standards, your speedometer can be off as much as 3 miles an hour. I said, I can send you the proof. And I said, any court would throw that ticket out, because 47 to 45 is within the 3% range. And he's like, well, speeding is speeding, it's still speeding. I said, no, you're not understanding. Your camera may say 47, my speedometer may say 45. And he says, well, you also swerved out of your lane. And I'm like, why didn't you lead with that? That's worse than 2 miles an hour. If you thought I left my lane, why didn't you lead with that? I said, it wasn't in the video. Well, I've got it right here. I've got it right here. And so I went back to that exact spot, and I filmed it in the daytime. And what it was it was in construction. The road kind of Z's and leans like that. So in the camera, it looks like I'm swerving when I'm really just following the lane at the prescribed speed. And they're like, well, you should have went slower. Well, shoulda, coulda, woulda. And, it's really nitpicky. And that's my big problem with these dash cams to begin with. Here's a guy. I want to talk about this guy a little bit, because I had him at orientation. He did my road test, and he had me so mad at the end of road test that I was ready to not even come to work at DART. I was really upset. And then he got nice all of a sudden when we got back to the yard. But his problem with me was, he said it in class before he even knew who I was, a truck driver with 6 months experience is more safe than a driver with 15 or 20 years, because the guy with 6 months experience pays attention, and the guy with 20 plus years experience has become complacent, lazy, and dangerous. And so when he went on his road test with me, it was his goal to prove his point. He was going to show me how much more he knew than me. But I know now, after talking to him on the phone, that he's probably never drove over the road. First of all, I'll bet you every CDL holder watching this video has been through the 44-35 split in Oklahoma City. If you're an over-the-road truck driver for more than just a couple of months, you've gone through there at some point. And it was obvious, obvious he had never been there before. Now, he claims to have truck driving experience, and I'm not calling him a liar, but it may be local driving. Maybe he was a yard hostler for DART. I don't know what he did, but it's obvious he never drove over the road, or if he did, he didn't do it for very long. And so, anyway, he says, well, if you're not going to admit you did something wrong, I'm going to put you out of service. I said, what's that mean? I've never been placed out of service. He says, I'm going to turn off your fuel card. You won't be able to be dispatched, and all this other stuff. Now, let's pause for a second. First of all, I realize I'm running under their authority, but does anybody think this is starting to sound like an AB5 violation? I mean, I'm shocked personally that DART's not worried about AB5 litigation making statements like that, and they may not be aware he's making statements like that. Now, I'm not the type of guy to start litigation, but if this guy's going around threatening drivers like this, somebody will at some point. But anyway, back to the story. So he puts me on safety hold because I said, well, I'm not going to admit to doing something wrong if I don't feel like I did something wrong. Because let's say I did that for the sake of argument. Let's say that I just said, you know what? I'm sorry, I was wrong. The next time there's a problem, and trust me, in this story, there's a next time, they're going to say, well, we've already had this instance with you before. You even admitted you did something wrong. Now we've got you a second time. So you need to come in. We need to road test you again. You need to watch all these videos and let us lecture you for a couple hours. And so you don't want to admit to doing something you didn't do. And also, you don't want to be fired for a safety violation either. There's a lot of companies that won't even talk to you if you've been fired for safety reasons. I'm sure if any of you has applied for a job lately, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, anyway, let's continue the story now. So, I hung up and I called the VP of safety, who's a really nice guy as far as safety guys go. And I told him the story. He said, Todd, there's got to be more to it than that. He wouldn't put you on safety hold for just that. I said, well, call him and talk to him. See for yourself. So I hung up with him. I went to pump DEF because I had plenty of diesel, but I needed DEF. While I'm pumping DEF, he called. I missed his call. He left me a voicemail. Hey, Todd, call me back. It was that quick, couple of minutes at the most. Call him back. He said, don't have to worry about the safety hold. I've got it removed. Everything's fine. Let's just move forward. I said, no, everything's not fine. This is an abuse of power. This is a guy that is using the power he has to try to manipulate and control situations. I said, at the very least, he owes me an apology and he should be written up. He said, well, I think that's a little extreme. I think we should just let this be water under the bridge and move on. And I thought, well, maybe my temper's getting the best of me. Okay, I'll move on. So I hung up and I dropped it. I was still upset, but I wasn't going to make a big deal about it. Well, DART has these guys called driver ambassadors. And they're supposed to be like middlemen between drivers and DART. And if there's any kind of conflict, they're kind of helping with driver retention, I guess you'd say. So one of them called me, and he's a nice enough guy. And I tell him the story, and at first he kind of agrees with me. Yeah, that's uncalled for. There's no need for this. Let me look into it, see if I can get you at least an apology. Excuse me. I was going to release this video a couple weeks ago. And so he's working on it. He says, Todd, I've talked to 2 different people. Has anybody called you? I said, no. He says, well, they must not care. I said, that's how I'm taking it. I said, you know what I'm going to do? I said, the next time that guy calls me, or wait, no, we hadn't got that far in the story yet. So let me get you to the next part. This story is kind of long and complicated. So he calls me, this guy calls me 4 or 5 days later, says, hey, Todd, I got another camera incident. This one's from 2 weeks before the previous one. So now we're going back 5 or 6 weeks. He says, you touched the white line for 3 seconds at night. I said, you know what? You're probably right. I probably did. I said, I bet pretty much every truck on the road does that at some point during the day. I said, I bet I could hop in your car with you. We could drive to Whataburger and we would see a car that touched the line. A truck that touched the line along the way. I said, vans and reefers are the worst, especially when they're empty if the wind's blowing. So I said, yeah, I probably did. And He's like, well, I just needed to make you aware of it. And I'm like, okay, I'm aware of it. So we hung up, and, I thought, man, that's really nitpicky, because here's a guy that claims to be an experienced driver that I'll bet you he couldn't take me on the road test he took me on without touching the white line at some point. And he's calling me. Now, I realize his job is to sit there and watch a computer screen all day. And the question is, if I was him, would I do what he did? I would probably watch that video and go, yeah, the guy touched the white line. This guy accused me of saying, well, you must have been texting and driving. You must have been eating while you were driving. And I'm like, for 3 seconds, come on now. But anyway, so again, this driver ambassador's contacted me during this time, and he's making all kinds of suggestions. Everything from I should buy everybody a gift card in the office to I should call this guy and basically kiss his butt and try to make peace with him, and all kinds of stuff. And I finally arrived at the decision. I said, you know what I'm going to do? The next time he calls me, no matter how nitpicky it is, whether it's true or false, I'm just going to say, I'm sorry, and accept whatever he wants. Videos, short lecture, whatever. I said, because one of us needs to be the bigger person, and we need to move forward from this. And I told that driver ambassador, I said, I'm making too good of money to let something like this ruin it for me. And he's like, well, all right. We hang up. He sends me an email calling me weak. And I emailed him back. I'm like, weak? And with some question marks. And he said, yeah. He said, you're allowing this to happen basically because of income. And I said, no, I'm trying to make peace. I'm trying to be a bigger person. And he says, well, I'm not calling you weak. I'm saying your position is weak. I'm like, well, you agreed with me until I said I was just going to let bygones be bygones. And so I feel like there's a lot going on here. I've given you two really good examples of micromanagement. And now from the driver ambassador, I think we could sprinkle on a little manipulation as well. And so I'm sure this driver ambassador had good intentions. I think he was trying to help. But in all actuality, it just made the situation worse. And so now where we are is, hang on just a second. I was sitting here thinking there was one more thing, but I can't remember what it is. I drove all day. I'm actually filming this video the night before you guys can see it. You can see my eyes are red, getting ready for bed. But basically, where we're at now, what's going to happen is... and this is new for me. I've started looking at other companies, and there is the potential for me to leave DART in the near future. Now, what does that mean? Might mean something, might mean nothing. Just because I'm looking doesn't mean I'm leaping, but I am talking to other companies. I spoke with approximately 5 companies this week, got approvals from several of them. And I'm just kind of weighing my options. As I stated earlier, I'm no longer recommending DART till we get these things resolved. And the other thing I'm doing as a result of that, and this is how it's going to affect the channel, unless there's any late breaking news about this little development between me and DART, I'm going to start talking about other trucking companies. I'm going to talk about some of the places I worked, what I thought about them, why I left them, and some of the companies that I've considered working at recently. I'm going to talk about them in videos too. So if you've been curious about other companies outside of DART, we're going to cover those. There's some mega carriers in there like Swift and Prime. Granted, it's been a little while since I worked there. But I have talked to some of their people recently, and I can tell you my thoughts on them. And we're going to talk about some little companies. I may not talk about the ones that have closed or gone out of business. Like I used to work for Hogue Enterprises in Denver. They closed their doors. I may not mention them because it's inconsequential to you guys. But I am going to talk about some of the other companies. I saw a I saw a ad the other day on the internet for a company that, get this, they say their lease operators can make up to $1,000 a week. Not a minimum. There's a lot of company drivers making $1,200 a week minimums. I think Dart does that. They do it on a 2-week rolling average, but I think they guarantee you'll make $2,400 every 2 weeks. So for this company to say you could make up to $1,000, I kind of got a chuckle out of that. And then that same company, I saw an ad today with them where it said you could make over $2,000 a week. So who knows? I think they just throw numbers out there and see who bites the hook. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this video up. I think I've said enough to get me in trouble for today. And we'll catch y'all on the next one. Y'all have a great one. Bye-bye.